Hello everyone, this is my latest story. It's called Spud and the Woodpecker. Hope you like it. Here we go. It was the summer holidays in Foodland. The school was closed and everyone's favourite teacher, Mr. Mash, was enjoying his few weeks off. One morning, he woke up feeling rather energetic. Today, he thought, I'll go for an extra long walk. So, after eating some toast for breakfast, Mr. Mash made himself a picnic and started on his way. He was soon approaching Mr. Beef's farm. He could see Cheese and Onion, who were busy feeding the goats in their field. Bread was helping too. He chased after the ones that escaped from their pen. "Come back here, you silly billies," he shouted. Mr. Mash did have a chuckle to himself. Then he saw Pea and Sprout, who were cleaning out the horse stables. What a smelly job! Next, he saw Strawberry, who was helping Mr. Beef to load his trailer with some sheep. "Good work, Strawberry," smiled Mr. Mash. "Hello, sir." "Thank you, sir," replied Strawberry, as the last sheep was loaded into the trailer. Finally, Mr. Mash walked past the farmhouse towards the big orchard. Spud was picking apples from the trees. "Hello, Spud," smiled Mr. Mash. "Working hard, I see." Spud was loading all of the picked apples into a wheelbarrow before wheeling it back into the farmhouse, where Mr. Beef was going to use them to make apple pie. Spud liked apple pie. "Hello, sir," replied Spud. Suddenly, a small colourful bird landed on the branch of the tree where Spud was picking apples. It began to peck at the wood. Tap, 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 tap. "What type of bird is that?" asked Spud. "That's a woodpecker," replied Mr. Mash. "They use their beaks like that to chip away at the bark, so they can reach the little grubs that live inside." "Amazing," thought Spud. He'd never seen a woodpecker before. Luckily, Mr. Mash had his camera with him and took a photo of it. The woodpecker ignored the flash and carried on pecking away at the bark. Tap, 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 tap. Mr. Mash said goodbye and continued on with his extra long walk. He enjoyed his lovely picnic overlooking the harbour and watched as the boat sailed past. Mr. Mash loved sailing. In fact, he loved it so much, he decided to buy himself a boat. To find out what happened to Mr. Mash's sailing boat, you'll have to wait until the next story. Meanwhile, Spud had finished picking the apples off the trees and dropped them back to the farmhouse. Then he went home for tea. He made himself a big pot of stew and dumplings. Delicious. He was feeling very full after that, and soon it was time for bed. Spud closed his eyes. Then, tap, 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 tap. What was that? He dashed downstairs in his sack-shaped house to open the front door. When he opened it, nothing was there. So he went back upstairs to bed and closed his eyes. Then, tap, 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 tap. Oh no! Spud's eyes opened in a flash. "What is making that tapping noise?" he said. He quickly dashed back downstairs and opened the front door, only to still find nothing was there. "This is very strange," he thought. Then he went to grab his torch. By now it was dark outside and the moon was out. Spud shone his torch and looked all around his house to see what was making the tapping noise. He searched in every room in the house. He also looked in the garden, in the shed, and even in the greenhouse. Nothing. Bother. Now feeling extremely tired, Spud trundled back into his bed, slowly shutting his eyes. But 5 seconds later, you know what happened? Tap, 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 tap. Oh no! Spud's bleary eyes opened once more. "Ah! Who is doing all that tapping?" he yelled. "Make it stop! Make it stop! Make it stop!" Poor Spud. The tapping continued all through the night. Spud tried to block out the noise, but it was no good. He ended up sleeping with his pillows and his quilt in his bathtub. It was a very, very uncomfortable night's sleep. The next morning, Spud woke up looking like he hadn't slept for a month. Then his doorbell rang, and Spud wearily answered the door. It was Mr. Mash. "Good morning, Spud." "Oh dear, you look like you didn't sleep much last night." "I know," replied Spud. "Somebody kept tapping and wouldn't stop. I had to sleep in the bath." "You do know who was making that tapping noise, don't you?" chuckled Mr. Mash. And he showed Spud the other side of his front door. It was the woodpecker. "Ah!" yelled Spud, and chased it away down the garden path. "Ah! I don't think that woodpecker will bother him any more," smiled Mr. Mash. And he headed off to the harbour to buy his boat. And that is the end of the story. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.